is on this second hour. It's all about back to school, and back to school is kind of a bit painful this year and this time around, because it is actually 4 terms consolidated into 1 year amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the general polls, and most importantly, the high cost of living. And joining me on set is an education expert, Dorris Mbide, who is the Assistant Executive Director of Deco International Education Consultancy. Karibu sana, Dorris.
Thank you so much.
Well, first things first, what is Deco International Education Consultants Agency? What exactly do you major on?
Deco International has been in Kenya for quite some time. Is an educational consultancy firm. We have 2 major programs. How to be a straight student is our core program.
Okay.
Secondly, currently, out of the new trends we have, the challenges and students are facing, we have also come up with a sub program, which we call help for the troubled student. With the major one, which is what we center on, we know that our education system, and more so with the COVID and whole other things, we have no time. So the teachers and the parents are overwhelmed. They don't give 100% attention to the students. So we do come with complementary or what we call auxiliary help to the students. We come up with a program to help students on how do you study, how do you take your notes, how do you prepare for exams, how do you take the exams. Secondly, with the sub-program, which we call Help for the Troubled Student, we have realized there's a lot of stress, diverse challenges, and we have come up with a program to help our learners at least psychologically get a help to the many challenges they are facing, maybe at home, maybe at school, time restrictions. They don't have enough time to go outside there, do their chores, and also finish the assignment, and also finish the syllabus, and be ready for the exams. So our programs comes in and chips in to help such a student.
And perhaps we find time where you can go to the particular details of that. But talking about a troubled student, we also have troubled parents. We don't have money. I was expected to pay fee after a week of holiday, and this is really stressing everyone and stretching everyone because of the meager resources that we are having. It's back to school amidst high cost of living.
Sure, we all victims of the same as parents. I understand where we are coming from. Not really, even before COVID, parents were still facing some challenges. Only that COVID exacerbated the whole thing, now made it more messy. But we have all this help from different perspectives. I really congratulate what the ministry has done, but that's not enough. We have seen how parents are crying out here. If you jump to the bookshops right now, I'm telling you, it's a mess. You really have to calculate. It's like you have to look what is more important than the other. But there's nothing more important than the other when it comes to education. But you have to weigh, do I get the dictionary, do I get the textbooks? If I don't get all of them, how do we complement that? Our parents outside there, they are crying, and I really feel for them. Or, you know, we still need to make sure that our learners still achieve their goals. Despite all the challenges.
Yes, and the good thing about us parents is that we will just find a way of having those fees, if it's to borrow or do this and do that. But let's go to the learner. 4 terms in 1 year, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, and they are also, our kids are also feeling the heat of high economic, the high economic downtown that has, it's now in every country, so to speak.
Sure. How
do you balance that in a kid who is barely what, less than 10, less than 15, basically a minor?
Basically a minor. True. I understand the challenge. But all in all, our program actually basically comes handy to address such issues. Do you know every child is gifted in a different way? Every child has a special talent. But there are ground rules every child, every learner has to be equipped with, so that can make useful those golden years we call, they say, spent in education lifeline. So these basics, our programs comes in to help those small runners actually go as young as even grade 3, grade 4, to help them psychologically. Like being, how do you organize yourself? Do you have a timetable to follow? What time do you study? What time do you sleep? What time do you wake up? So they have to have a routine to make sure that despite all these other challenges on time and money, they also have to do their best. Secondly, when it comes to financial challenges, we also have stress management program. Because I understand you cannot teach a child who is in an empty stomach. They cannot conceive that. Some learners are big enough to understand our parents are facing all this. Tomorrow I heard my mom talk about this. We can't afford this. Dad has not done this, has not even paid my school fees. And I still got to go back, despite the fact that Professor Magoa, the CS for Education, says, don't send any child back. But that is not enough. Still, it is at the back of the child that it's not yet done. But you have to keep fighting. You really have to have those life skills to balance what is happening. Despite all the challenges, you really have to perform. You really have to study. You really have to do your best. So we have that program, strength management, is one of the life skills we teach actually to our learners to make sure that they can afford. Yeah.
And I do remember that even the head of state did talk about the mental wellness of Kenyans. You've talked about how you have programs that are geared towards helping, if it's students or parents who are having issues on education. Let's look at the Kenyan situation right now. Your consultancy services will be only to people who can afford that, right? The Ministry of Education, do you think perhaps it could extend that, because the mental wellness of our kids is quite important as well?
Very important, because...
Could be extended to schools, public schools, because from what you've said is that we have to always, the consultancy, you always have to spend even more money.
Yeah, you really have to. It comes with a cost. Despite the fact that we're an NGO, we subsidize the cost, but still, being an NGO, you need some cash to make sure you run things smoothly.
Should this be extended to public schools as well?
Yes, actually we offer our services to all learners, whether pupils, whether students, whether university, we go for all of them. We don't discriminate who is who. And money, all the cost does not bar us from giving our services. And our services actually not only go to the learners, they go to the teachers too, and they go to the parents too. Actually, we have the three of them. Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Should the government think of embedding this training, or even the mental wellness lessons? Because our kids are also disturbed as much as we are. They
should. Actually, is a basic. Because why? You cannot. First, you can't give what you do not have. Two, that is why I'm saying we have to incorporate the teachers to come in and here. And the Ministry of Education has to lend an extra hand actually on these issues. Why? They have the bigger part to play. We also only come as a supplemental effort to them. So they should actually make sure some of these subjects are incorporated in the main system. And I'm happy one of the things being told is life skills, which is incorporated in the CBC system. It's really helping That only that the content might not be as deep as what we offer in our program. But they might have something to talk about, but it should be given a priority, because now we have seen the eventualities we're faced with COVID-19, and we don't know what to expect tomorrow. So we expect such a things to be prepared in hand before they happen. So mental welfare, wellness of our students is key to be incorporated. And those subjects, they should be told, actually is a life skill you need throughout the life. So as they are learners, they need it now to cope with the situation, pass their exams, and immediately they get outside, it will be the same thing. So once they are equipped, it will be easy for them for their tomorrow's life.
Okay, let's look at the digital menace that is there, because at the end of the day, when we have our kids at home, we think perhaps they are safe. But looking at the phones, the tablets, the computers, the laptops, what they are seeing on television or in the internet, we cannot always say that it's good content. How do we ensure that our kids do not get into this digital menace?
Quite a mess.
We have the social media platforms, we have TikToks, we have so many.
Quite a mess. It's the biggest challenge we have currently. One of the things which drove us to having the Troubled Student Program, we got our basic from TikTok. Okay. TikTok, it's camouflaged, if I might use that word, as entertainment. But many of those scripts, behind them, there's a lot of hidden information, which is quite disturbing. I've watched several, and we need our learners to be well informed about this. We tried to talk about having the password to some programs they cannot access even within our TVs. Some program being aired on this time by the others after they go to bed.
The watershed hours, we always say.
Yes, but that is not helping. Actually, our students are very much informed about the internet, and is really messing them up, because it's very tempting. Immediately you start reading on something, the next tab leads you to totally different thing, which is not good for that level, because it's really going to mess you, because once you read one, you'll be tempted to go ahead and get the second one and the third one, and by the time you realize, actually you are addicted to something. So we really have a challenge with technology, and that is why the ICT program and the digital platform need to be kind of controlled, which is not easy. But the issue is not really even that. The issue is, can we have a program which will help our learners not to go to certain extent? Should we have what we call limit? Should we have what we call discipline? Should we have to see our moral values? Can we add more effort on them? Because once they are weighing too much on our moral values, on what is right, on what is good, now the vices will go down. But for sure, it's not easy with the current environment, with the availability of all these technological gadgets. It's not easy to tell me that we can stop that. It's not easy.
And still on challenges, we're talking about the digital platform where you have a program called the Disturbed, or is it there?
The Help for the Troubled Student.
Help for the Troubled Child. And not only do you have a digital menace in your house, in your workplace,
yes, exactly,
but you also have some who have issues with substance use and substance abuse.
Quite a lot.
You still have these kinds of programs?
Yes.
More or less like a rehab center or what?
We connect. We connect with several outside the here. We even connect with the police. We even connect with a church, because some cases look like demonized.
You mentioned the police. You know, if you're trying to assist a troubled child, and you mentioned the word police, I'm quite sure they won't be very warm to that idea.
Not being warm. You see, there are some like my director, Dorris, she's an expert in psychological issues, and you can face some situations and you find it for sure. This cannot stop here. It doesn't only go to the head of the school, it has to go past that. Why? You might find like you get a scenario like a rape case. When you get a rape case, do you just say, yeah, we can talk with the principal of the school and it ends there? No. You have to take extra steps to go and make sure that the necessary steps are followed, to make sure even if the culprits are even brought to book. Because our society kind of is toxic out there. For our scholars, it is a major challenge because every time they're on the road, back to school, to the house, and they face all these challenges. What do? So we make sure we have psychologists outside there, we work with them. We have connection with the church. We work with them because some of them will really need some moral values, and the church, the church comes in and to help such as students, both ways. The professional way and the religious way will always at least help us towards success.
What are your success rates? Because you've talked about even students, how to get an A. I'm quite sure it's an elaborate program that ensures that there is a lot of parent-teacher association when it comes to studying. Kindly explain that.
For the success of any learner, for quite sure, the student comes first, the teacher is there, parents come on board. Actually, the parents are the first teachers before even we take our pupils to class. You, the parent, you're the first teacher. Now, we also had other stakeholders in there. Now, our program, we believe in every child is a unique child, born with a unique talent. And somebody needs to chip in to make sure that we help these learners, one, identify who they are, identify what they are gifted in, and then proceed to execute what they are talented in. Now, many times you'll find that our parents are extremely busy, our teachers are overwhelmed and pushed to finish the curriculum, so they don't go deeper to have this one-on-one relationship with a child or a one-on-one talk. What are you passionate on? Or for the young ones, you even don't need to ask them. You can find out yourself. You just engage them in a talk, in an educational talk. And being a psychologist, with all these basics, you will learn what this child is capable of. You observe the behavior. You can inquire from the parents. Some of them are very keen on their children, and they can tell you for sure, my child has an interest in this. So out of that, now you can build a foundation out of it, and then with different skills and information, push this child towards that right direction, towards achieving that success. So we have a program, is an elaborate one, on what do you concentrate on? When do you study? How do you study? How do you take your notes? How do you extend your concentration span? How do you take your exams? How do you prepare and then take them? Which keywords do you concentrate on? What do you highlight? How do you do your math, the methodology? Have you got it? Have you understood? Because there's one thing with passing the exams, and it's totally another with you understanding. We love making you have these skills. Why? You're not only doing them to excel in class. We are preparing you for tomorrow.
Okay. And we are back to school, so unfortunately we don't have any person from the ministry here. We think we would have given a better answer to this. But looking at the capitation that the government is offering, and it's talked about the education in public schools being free. Looking at the capitation, some parents are arguing, if you're telling me that I can bring my student or my pupil free of charge, But you tell me to buy kamusi, to buy dictionary, to buy also the protractors and the geometrical set. It's also adding a lot of pain to parents, and especially now kids are back to school. Your view on that? If it's free, should it be free entirely, or the parents should shoulder some of the costs?
I will be quite not so definite about everything,
okay,
but I will just share my view. This is what will happen. We really also have to contribute towards the success of our learners. We cannot say that the government is doing all these other things for free, and then it's like we have a layback. We cannot. We really have to make sure we also have a positive impact on our learners. I don't mind chipping in and buying the complementary books, the workbooks, some revision papers, whether I go online and download them for my learners. I don't mind going to that extent, so long as I make this positive impact towards the success of that student. So when we say is free, it cannot be entirely free. We really have to chip in, not really on not even the material part of it, even the psychological part of it, the intellectual part of it. We still need to make sure we are partners to making our learners succeed. We have.
And some parents have been accused by the Minister of Education, Professor Magoha, has on numerous times talked about parents abdicating their duties to either house helps or to other people instead of being there for the kid. The kid needs the psychological help.
Sure.
They also need the parents to be there. But unfortunately, because of the nature of our jobs and businesses, parents have abdicated that. Is it one of the reasons that is leading to some of the cases that you have as an NGO have seen in the last couple of looking at the press? We are seeing this recurring.
Majorly is a problem by omission or commission. It is quite important to make sure you as a parent, we have what we call the social part of it. The relationship between you and your child. Remember, it's your child. Now, when you delegate all this duty to the house help, some of the house help might not be qualified enough, might not even have the basics on what they need to do with your child. What they know is, I pick the child from the school and I ensure they do their homework, they take their bath, and they sleep on time. Is that enough? No, it's not. You really need to have one-on-one relationship. You are the parent here. This child has a connection from point one with you. So it is quite important to make sure you spare, whether it's a little time. I know we are busy, everybody is looking after all this money. I need my child to be in good school, I need to afford this, I need to buy this, and I understand. And I need to be here, outside here, making sure I do what I'm supposed to do as a parent. But I always request, find time, however little, find out how was school. Talk to your child. How was school? Did you face any challenge? Is everything okay? Do you think I can come in and help with 1, 2? Sometimes sit down with them, do the homework. Sometimes engage them in a life skill exercise. Help them do an activity. They will actually have that part of you. You have a gap you have to fill as the parent. You cannot abdicate it to the or delegate it to the house help entirely. And
still on our kids, is that Kenya, when you look at the sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya is one of the countries with retrogressive cultural practices, like marrying off very young, and actually we have seen them in the last couple of months, and FGM and others. Have your organization tended to some of the issues like this?
True. We cannot detach ourselves from culture in entirety, but I say there is that retrogressive culture or backwardness, and we have culture which is healthy. So we need to have a line on those two. Some of them, like marrying of young ones, We had a case on the other day about an 11-year-old, honestly. It's like it's being sold off. Actually, that is the word the young girl used, and I really felt for that one. How do you just sell off because the situation has come that bad? No, you really don't have to do that. You better rather, I better rather see you asking for help.
How have you been able to assist as an organization? Have you been able to assist such kind of girls?
We always, when we face such, we always have links with the right organizations who come in handy, because ours is literally to do with the intellectual part of it. We can talk, or we can at least reason with this young child. We can help coming back, calming the stress, talking about it's not the end of the world. There is hope for you tomorrow, but we might not do everything. We need somebody else to come on board and at least like helping with a residential area where they can live, where they feel safe. But we always find time to go there and have a look at them and at least see how they're faring and talk to them. What do you think we can do? How do we help you? Are you okay? And do you now have some hope in you that tomorrow will be a different day from today? So we always face all these students every day. We actually had a call last week. I had one from Figa. Yeah, and told me, I saw a clip from someone, and I felt that I should talk to you. What is the problem? I'm totally out of school, and my parents kind of saying that they can't afford. So I really have now to stay in the house. It's the end of life for me now with education. Now I had to make sure we follow up with somebody I know there, to have hold of that child till I make a trip there, sit down, talk, and get a possible solution to make sure that child goes back to school.
Are you able to help?
Yes.
That's a good thing. Now, CBC has been hailed as a step in the right direction, partly because it also scrapped off the ranking, which the competitiveness that was there with the 844 system, which has been hailed as maybe could offer some relief when it comes to the mental wellness of students, because they are not fixated on being number 1 or 2 or a certain mean score. The CBC has been hailed as offloading that mental pressure to our students. Your sentiments?
I applaud CBC to a great extent. Why? It has come in to change some of these narratives we have held for quite some time. I have to be number 1 for me to be saying like I'm excellent.
Yes.
It is not about you being number 1. It's about you internalizing that information, getting the skills you need to get, and being in a position to do an application about the same. It's not about I being number 1. I might be the last person, but the issue is what I have, the skill I have might not reflect in my performance. No. But I can execute it by being in a position to model something. I'm being in a position to maybe paint something, maybe being a writer. Yeah, but that doesn't mean because I don't do so well in sciences, I'm not anybody. No, it deals with the competency. Get it right, get the skills, execute them by being practical on what you get. Why? I really probably to some extent because it is leading us to the gap we have on unemployment. Why do we have all this big gap? Because we all wait to be employed. These white-collar jobs is what we are looking for. Currently, we don't need that. We need you to be an expert in a specific area and then go outside there and actually think of being an employer, not an employer. And actually create even major positions for others. I have seen it work. Because people start in small groups, organize yourself, start a skit, start a play, start writing, start performing, and then tomorrow, actually find you are even earning even when you are a student.
Okay. If you just joined us, this is KBC News Tech, and we have been looking at the back to school which is back to school with a bang, because there's a lot of pain. There's a COVID pandemic, there is the election, there is a high cost of living, there, and all that enshrined, and we still have to take our kids back to school, and have been with an education stakeholder and an expert who is Dorris Mbide. She is the Assistant Executive Director of Deco International Education Consultancy, a firm that, an NGO that deals with a lot of issues on matters education. Let's wrap it up. I'll give you a minute to wrap it up. You know, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things that are currently happening not only in Kenya but also in our families. How do we make sure that as parents we do not break the bond with our kids, and we ensure that our kids also, at the end of the day, they are well taken care of in matters education?
Thank you. My clarion call is everybody to come on board. Make sure you create some time. Make sure you are active participant in your learner's life. Don't wait till when it's too late. The time is now. Get going. Start today if you have not been doing it, and at least help in the success. Pilot these young minds to the right direction now, because if you wait, they know how to teach themselves. And to unteach them is costly and detrimental. So the best thing I can say is get on board, get the right material, be part of their educational life, and be active participant towards giving them the right content at the right time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dorris Mbide from Deco International Education Consultancy. We have been looking at back to school. Of course, we were expecting someone from the ministry there at least would have shed a lot of light when it comes to how we are taking back our kids to school. But the professor, the education professor, George Magoha, talked about parents just take your kids back to school, and no teacher is allowed to send kids back to school just because they do not have fees. A lot has to be looked into. 4 terms in 1 year is quite something. It's quite a bite. Anyway, thank you so much for making time for News Check. My name is Njue. I'm giving rise to Nancy Okware, who will be taking you through term relief. For now, thank you so much. Let's continue this conversation on social media.